guys, and welcome to another episode of Round Here Buzz. You got me, Chris Powell, and Jeremy and Matthew. We are here with Lou Murnane. Is that how you say it?
Murnane.
Murnane. All right. Well, I'm a redneck, so it's a little different than a country boy. So he is a farrier up in Matt's side of the world, and he's going to give us a little insight on what's going on in Montana, number one, and number two, kind of his profession. I'm like crazy about watching. I get caught up in rabbit holes all the time, and I'm watching all these things, and I just think it's interesting. And I know that Matt had a little time with it, and we're just kind of interested in what you do on a daily basis. And thought you were interesting enough to be on the show with all of us tonight, and just kind of wanted to get at it. So kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a fourth generation Montanan here, living in Bozeman, kind of going to school. And I kind of just fell into the farrier trade. My parents met in farrier school back in 1980, and they were professional farriers there for 20 years, among other careers as well. And so I just kind of got the boot camp growing up, shoeing our own horses, and then, first got exposed to shoeing other people's stuff, and I was working for outfitters in high school, and I went to school for a year on the East Coast and shod some polo ponies back there, and that was and rode some polo ponies too, and that was quite a different experience from everything I was used to.
You look like a Harvard guy. Did you go to Harvard?
I did go to Harvard. Yep, I went for 1 year in mechanical engineering.
I researched that, bro. I didn't just know that. Well, that's cool, bro. That's great. I mean, that's real cool. So your mom and dad were farriers.
Yep, they were
met in farrier school.
They met in farrier school. Yep.
And then they had you, and you became.
The story is my dad was going to quit, and he saw this woman out working him, and he wasn't going to let her beat him out of school. And so he figured if she was tougher than him, he better marry her.
That sounds cool, bro. That sounds like a great story.
That is.
I also noticed your wife's you're married, right?
What was that?
You're married, right?
One more time.
Are you married?
Yes, I am married. Me and my wife just got married here in May.
Yeah.
Just welcomed our first son, Quinn, into the family here a month ago.
Oh, fifth generation farrier.
Yep.
That's cool. That's real cool. And she's into horses too, right? Did I notice that she worked at a surgical center, maybe?
What was that?
Does she work in a surgical center or something like that? I don't know, man. I just kind of researched you, like stalked you.
She was a vet tech, so we met when she was a vet tech at Montana Equine.
Okay, cool.
Started dating, and then she was in a ranch management program here at MSU, and did an internship there. And then, so because of that, couldn't work at the Montana Equine Vet Clinic. So afterwards, she went to work as a vet tech in a small animal hospital, and then is taking some time off, for the baby and everything. So
I can't get over you look like young Whiteley, but I'm gonna let these fellas talk for a minute. I tend to take over the microphone a lot, so I'm gonna back up for a second.
No worries.
Yeah, you got it. Hey, Luke, for the folks that don't know a lot about maybe what we're talking about, and I know Chris had made mention because we both have done it. You're flipping through the Facebook and you see a reel of a guy rehabbing a hoof, and it's just mesmerizing for people who aren't into the horses. Well, but it's just cool. But tell us, if you can, just a little about, like, if you know any of the history of farriery and why we need farriers. What the practical purpose is. I mean.
I think the first written horsemanship book was written by a Greek philosopher back, close to 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. And so we've been using horses for most of the recent, if not all of recent human history. There's horseshoes dating back that they find in archaeological digs date back to the Roman Empire and beyond, and so shoeing horses is a multi-thousand-year-old trade, and the main reason for it is to protect that horse's foot. There's an old saying: for the want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For the want of the shoe, the horse was lost. For the want of the horse, the knight was lost. And for the want of the knight, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost, and all for the want of a horseshoe nail. So horses and shoeing horses has been integral to human history. And it all stems from protecting that horse's foot to give us the ability to use these horses riding, warfare, agriculture, recreation, throughout all of human history without them going lame, and continuing to provide a reliable and sustainable form of transportation for us. And, so that's where horseshoeing evolves from. Up until recent history, human life evolved around the horse. Just going back, 80, 90 years, there were still cavalry charges in World War I. They were using horses in the Afghanistan war. They used it in the Korean War, and that's just recent history after the invention of, vehicles. And so predating that, everything revolved around the horse, which meant horses had to have protection on their feet, to be able to be reliable and to keep them sound and keep them traveling, which, in turn meant that the entire human industrial complex could keep turning. So
yeah. It kind of takes you to that other very much shorter and condensed saying about the foot is no hoof, no horse.
Exactly.
Dude, that's great.
Yeah. God knows his stuff. That's awesome. Hey, so you mentioned how the horse has been used over history and whatnot, and although it's been used in wars somewhat recently, it's certainly limited. And I think for the most part, most people in the country today, they see a horse either maybe on the Kentucky Derby, or maybe in a movie like a horse-drawn carriage, or maybe like Cops in New York City or whatnot. So, but what in what you do, what are some of the uses for horses that you see to where you might shoe it a little differently or look after a different problem? But what are the main, I guess, where we are, the main uses you see people really using their horse?
So kind of the three main uses of the horse now is agriculture, cattle ranching, recreation, whether that be, your trail rider or, an outfitter taking customers into the mountains. And then you branch into the show horse world, which is a offshoot of recreation, but it's a, much more specialized. So, depending on the country and the use that horse is going to be in, if it's real heavy use going in the backcountry, you're going to want to shoe that horse so that shoe doesn't come off. Because when you're at 10,000 feet going over a rocky pass, that horse loses a shoe, he might not have a foot by the time you get down to the bottom, which is going to be a lot different, than a show horse who lives in a stall. His entire life and everything is wrapped around being a scalpel blade for his profession. You got a horse that goes from the stall to the arena, is the best athlete at what it's doing, but the shoe is there not so much for protection, but to provide optimal mechanical support to allow that horse to do its job to the best of its ability. So you'll shoe those two different kinds of horses a little bit different. And then how hard a horse is getting worked too. In a lot of areas, they only might need shoes in the front or shoes in the hinds, so you're leaving them barefoot on half the horse just because that's not what the horse needs for that recreation or for that, specific use and specific job. And so, for those three areas, you're really going to tailor how that horse is shod. He's going outside, he can't lose a shoe. If he's going inside, maybe he can lose a shoe, but while that shoe's on there, it needs to provide him the best base of support to do his job. So
got it.
Nice.
for the folks that, again, a lot of folks that'll see these videos or whatnot, it just looks, if you don't understand maybe what's going on, it's just crazy to figure out, and so a question that I know I've gotten before and people ask is like, does what you're doing, does it hurt the horse at all?
You can hurt the horse, definitely. I mean, the horse's hoof is keratin, and it's basically your fingernail. Over years of evolution, they've evolved to run on their fingernail. So you cut them too short, it's just like cutting your fingernail too short. You can quick them and draw blood and stuff. However, in proper application, that foot gives you a lot of wiggle room to be able to, trim it and nail it and hot fit it, with a hot shoe, burn that shoe into a perfect fit on the hoof. And there is zero negative side effects in the actual application of that horseshoe, because there's so many layers of protection built there. That's the horse's foot that it's got to travel on. So the actual application of a horseshoe, when done correctly, causes no harm whatsoever to that horse. A lot of times, by putting a shoe on and giving the horse more support than the foot that it's grown can provide, you're benefiting the horse by quite a bit.
Yeah.
So what's the difference in, and I'm assuming this, Mustangs, wild horses? Is there some sort of natural phenomenon that happens with if a horse is wild for like the entire life? How do they maintain? How do they cull the growth of their hooves or whatever? How does that make sense?
Oh yeah. So a wild horse, on average, and don't quote me, I'm just kind of spitballing here, moves anywhere between 10 and 20 miles a day between food and water. So they're constantly moving, and the typical ground that you'll see wild horses in these days, especially, is rough, hard dirt and rock ground. So they're constantly wearing their feet off. Gotcha. And if they wore their feet off faster than the hoof grows, they died long time ago. Okay. If they didn't have a foot, they couldn't get to food and water.
To food and water, sure.
And Mother Nature's a pretty cruel mother, so if you can't live, you died. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Over the years, they've evolved to, be able to have a foot that grows, kind of tailored to the amount of movement that is required for them, Yeah.
So how long has it been? How long has shoeing a horse been in existence? I mean, like you talked about the first horse book being in the Greek civilization. When did it first begin that they actually started shoeing horses?
The oldest known shoe that I have seen documented dated to somewhere in the Roman Empire. So, conservative guess is 2,500 years.
Well, they got to do all the cool stuff, didn't they?
So it sounds like it might actually be the second oldest profession then. Right behind the first.
I think they had the first one pretty good at it too. No, I don't think they never paid for that one. It was all for free. You just had to go into the right room.
So that comes up again.
What's that?
Right. I know, right? Hey, Luke, here's a question for you. So you're talking about like a wild horse and whatnot, or their foot wears down. I know a lot of times you see like a three-legged dog, a three-legged cat, right?
Yep.
No three-legged horses, right?
Nope. Not
really.
gonna
happen, yeah.
There's so much weight that a horse carries, conservatively in the 900 pounds, you can get up to 2,000-3,000 pound horses in draft horse breeds and stuff. There's so much weight distributed between those 4 feet that if they knock, a foot off or injure a leg or something out in the wild, that's pretty much a death sentence, And same thing for any large animal like that, moose, buffalo, everything. There's so much weight there that they can't efficiently move, whereas you see a dog, basically a dog was born with 3 legs and a spare, because they're so athletic, but they're also, a tenth of the weight with basically the same suspension system that a horse does, just, in a smaller frame. So because of that, disproportionate amount of weight to kind of a similarly styled suspension system, the importance of having all 4 feet is a lot greater for the horse than it is for a dog.
So when I was a young man and you had a dog that got sick or you had to put him down, you could just put him down and it wasn't against the law. Recently, it's become, down here in Alabama, it's against the law to put your dog down. Do they have laws for horses? I mean, I see it all the time on TV. Oh, my horse fell in a hole, and they crack in the back of his head and they, bury it. Are there laws to that? Or if you're the owner of the horse,
I am the wrong guy to ask. Everybody I know it's pretty, the general understanding is it's pretty well up to the owner's discretion, whether and how they want to put it down, but I couldn't tell you if there's any law or anything on the books that says one way or the other.
Is there a certain age of a horse that you start shoeing it? Is it, or right when it's born, start shoeing?
So you'll start trimming them. You can start trimming them, heck, within a couple days they're born, and some trimming when they're that young can help alleviate some conformational deformities. But you don't really start shoeing them until they're, really getting started. So I think the youngest I've seen a horse started, and it's a lot more common in the racehorse world, is starting those long yearlings. And so, from my understanding, those horses that are getting into work and stuff, that's when they'll start shoeing them. But a lot of times, they'll start them young and they'll leave them barefoot, because the level of work and their conformation doesn't dictate the need of shoes. So probably a good average is 2 to 3 year old whenever they're getting started. I know some guys don't even start their horses until they're 4 to let them develop. And I know that was a lot more common here 50 and 100 years ago, before the prevalence of 3-year-old futurities and stuff like that. So basically whenever they're kind of getting into work is about when, give or take 6, 8, 12 months, depending on the owner and the situation, is when they'll start getting shod.
You mentioned, I think it was deformities or something as far as conformation or whatnot. What can good shoeing or bad shoeing do? And maybe tell us what conformation is and how it matters, and then how good or bad shoeing or trimming can affect that.
So correct conformation boils down to mechanics, right? You have forces, exerted via motion and via weight on the limb. And so good, strong conformation is going to be straight legs, not too steep, but not too shallow in the pastern angle. So the pastern angle is going to be the 3 bones, including the hoof, that go into the leg. And that's really where your suspension comes in. So you don't want something too steep. You don't want something too broken back is what they call it, because that's your shock absorber. And so when you get into conformational deformities, everything's not straight. You got a crooked leg or a knee that's turned out or turned in, or, joints that don't come in at a 90-degree angle or in the hind end at a appropriate angle. And so, especially when they're really young, adjusting the way that the forces load the foot, which in turn load the legs, can help improve, their conformation as they grow. Once they're done growing, though, basically good shoeing is going to allow that horse to function with the conformation that it has at its best, right? So if the horse has really good conformation, straight legs, straight bone, not too steep, not too shallow, good shoeing is going to support the foot, allow the forces to load the foot in the correct way. As that horse is traveling forward, they have to they have to roll over their toe a lot like we roll over our toes when we're walking. And so if you are trimming and shoeing a horse and just leaving a pile of toe out there, right? It's like you walking around in, size 12 boots with a size 10 foot. You're walking around with flippers. Now in the same, on the flip side of that, if you consistently put, too small of a shoe on, or you're trimming improperly to where they're standing up and get kind of way up on their tippy toes, it'd be like you walking around in a pair of high heels or a size 8 shoe and a size 10 foot. So
Jeremy does that a lot. He likes high heel.
I was actually wanting to talk about Jeremy's confirmation, thinking that there had to be some bow legs in there somewhere.
Well, I've actually went back to flats because the heels were really hurting the ankles. So strictly flats now.
That's good.
That's a good move. That's a good move.
So do you deal with a lot of infection, man? I see all these videos and a lot more. I'm assuming you only do horses. Do you do cows or cattle as well?
I don't do cattle. I know a few guys who do. But I don't, simply because you need a lot more infrastructure to be able to trim a cow, since you don't train them to be able to stand.
Do horses get infection like I see with the cattle as well?
Oh yeah, basically the brass nuts of the structures are kind of the same. You have a hoof wall that's encapsulating a bone, with soft tissue and stuff in there. So anytime you get a puncture wound, or a bacterial infection into that migrates through the calloused outer tissue and into the soft sensitive tissue, you're going to have infection and pain and can get some nasty black pus, white pus, bloody pus coming squirting out at you, a bunch of black goo everywhere. But,
it smells good too, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. And it tastes even better.
Was that on there, or did you just accidentally had it on your glove or something?
Well, I've I had real bad allergies as a kid, so I kind of learned how to breathe through my mouth when my nose was plugged up, and so bad follow me, and I pop into a little pus bucket, breathing through my mouth, and I get a good appreciation for blowing my nose.
Hey, you gotta love your craft, bro. You gotta love your craft.
Oh, that's good. Hey,
go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was just going to ask about the infections.
Yeah.
I guess I'm really looking at regular. Is it regulated? Do you have to get a doctor to look at it? Is it something you can do with, a home remedy or things like that, or is it something that they regulate?
There's no real regulation. My kind of rule of thumb is I'm not gonna go and find blood. If I find blood, we need a vet. Because that's beyond my scope of practice. But if it's just like a surface infection, or they call it thrush, where it kind of gets in and it's a frog and stuff, I can exfoliate all the dead stuff out of there and treat it with a antimicrobial, antibacterial type of thing, and give recommendations if I suspect the hoof has an abscess, but I can't dig in there, past my comfort level and find it. I can recommend just kind of offhand soaking the foot in Epsom salt and stuff like that. But anything that's going to require digging to sensitive tissue, blood, etc., I'm gonna refer that to a vet.
Go ahead, man. I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Hey, Luke, how much? So you had mentioned earlier on cows, like you need a lot more infrastructure for cows, because cow didn't, this is not their jam, right?
No.
And I've worked with you before, and I maybe talk a little bit about what horsemanship is and how horsemanship plays into what you actually have to do, because you gotta let this 1,000-pound animal. If he doesn't want you to have his foot, you're not gonna have it.
Yeah, exactly.
So a little bit about horsemanship and how you work that in.
So horsemanship broadly defined is just, how you work with a horse, and there's so many interpretations and ways to do it. But basically you have to work with the energy of the horse and, trying to make your idea his idea. The way you'd make a nail go into a piece of wood usually isn't the best. Usually doesn't turn out the best. So you have to be able to read the horse and figure out how to make your idea feel good to him, And so working with a horse by creating boundaries and, respectable boundaries, but boundaries nonetheless, with groundwork, with handling, with manners and stuff, all plays a part into, the temperament of the horse going into teaching them how to stand there and hold their feet. And then it's progression, right? You teach a horse that it's okay that you can run your hand down its leg and then hold it for 2 seconds and 4 seconds and 6 seconds. And, you progress to where you can hold that horse's foot, and you make that experience comfortable, and where you want that horse to be. And if that horse doesn't, really feel like that experience is what what he wants to do, you can make, not holding his foot up uncomfortable. You don't make it impossible, because then you're just getting in a fight with the horse. But if you can make that experience uncomfortable and make holding his foot up or whatever you're wanting to do with that horse comfortable, he's going to search out for that comfort. Just like two horses in a herd, that are trying to establish a pecking order. One of them is going to make the other one uncomfortable until the situation is comfortable for both of them. And so that's how a horse kind of thinks, very very spark notesy, and so always searching, being able to read the horse, whether it's scared or whether it's just distracted or whether it's saying, holding the middle finger to you and saying, I don't want to do this,
Yeah.
and figuring out a way to make that situation comfortable for the horse, or work, recommend going and getting that horse some training, outside of the farrier appointment, to allow that horse to find some comfort and find some peace in having its feet worked on. And once that happens, heck, you can get them to hold their foot on the stand for you.
Yeah. I noticed that Jeremy lit up when you said something about holding up the middle finger. I thought you liked that, didn't you?
I actually have two questions, but they may not be appropriate right now.
You want to go for them?
Okay, so you've got this 1,000-pound animal.
Yep.
You got its leg up. You got its leg up in the air. It becomes really friendly and tries to hump you. What do you do?
How did I know that was going to be
that experience? I've never had that experience, but I'd probably make him extremely, extremely uncomfortable until he figured out that that's not the thing to do.
Not happening.
I think the real question is, what would Jeremy do?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time I had to use a bat against something.
I don't know, bro. You might want to go a little bit bigger than a bat. Some of them cats, man. So, hey, wildest thing that happened to you in the year you was at Harvard? Craziest, weirdest thing? I mean, I know it had to be a culture shock.
Ooh. Yeah. That's an understatement of the year. Heck, the whole reason I didn't, I loved the school, the teachers, and the curriculum was great. The experience was exotic for a small town Montana kid like me, but the culture shock is probably, why I didn't finish my 4 years there. I couldn't quite get used to living in a metropolitan area, 8 million people, and construction going on all night and people bumping into you and on the subway and stuff.
No stars.
The best experience I had there was playing polo. Getting back into the equine world, and that was my piece. Was driving north to Ipswich, Massachusetts, and playing polo.
Well, dude, that sounds cool.
Yeah, the weirdest experience I probably had a couple of times were tourists that weren't, Asian tourists that would just grab you and take a picture with you just because I was walking down, between classes with a cowboy hat on.
You look like Red.
Like, we take your picture. Like, yeah, okay, I'll take your picture, right? You two get together. And they're like, no, we're going to take your picture. I'm like, okay.
We take your picture, golf books.
So there's probably a few pictures of me standing like I'm hating the world with a few people there, but.
What was your
that's
mate?
cool.
What was your study? What were you studying at Harvard?
I was studying mechanical engineering.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
I've always liked building stuff, and so out of high school, I'm like, yeah, mechanical engineering sounds like the ticket, And it wasn't until a few years later, after I'd transferred and got a little further into it, that I'm like, wait a second, building stuff means sitting behind a computer screen 95% of the time. I'm not really into doing that for the rest of my life. So.
Yeah, that engineering is wide scope, brother. I mean, it is wide scope. It's cool that you try. I mean, it's cool that you threw it out there, though, man. That's good stuff. I mean, you really took it to the level of, like, I'm going to Harvard. You know what I mean? That from Montana. I mean, that's admirable, bro.
That's some Matt Damon stuff right there.
Yeah. How you like them apples? You know what I mean?
Got a number.
Yeah, I did something similar, but it was at Montevallo. So
yes.
And then they asked me to leave.
Yes, that's right. I reached really high and got to that. Got to junior college, killed it.
There you go.
Both of them, when they left to go to Montevallo, they were like, the girl to boy ratio is like 7-1, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
There you go.
Wasn't it 7-1 back then, something like that?
I don't know, but it was
pretty
a lot
close.
to a little. It was a lot to a little.
Hey, I mean, those are valid concerns for an 18-year-old kid,
Absolutely.
Yep. Luke, what are you studying now, man?
I am studying biochemistry pre-med now.
That's a swing.
Dude, okay.
So, yeah, a little different than engineering, a little different than horseshoeing, but, I became my dad, after he met my mom in vet school and stuff, or in horseshoeing school, went on to become a vet, and so medicine has kind of always been a part of my life too. And it was never really top of mind or consideration there for a while until I became a EMT, went to EMT school here, and then, I'm like, this could work, because especially in emergency medicine, or the operating room and stuff, you're not presented with the mundane, everyday,
sure, check
boxes A through C, Monday through Friday. Every patient that comes in is a little different, keeps your mind active and engaged.
You change lives too, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Helping people out.
Absolutely.
Helping horses, helping people, kind of common theme that's involved in life.
I dig it. I love it, bro.
100%.
I think I'm infatuated with you.
How long do you think? I mean, do you think? Okay, so how old are you, Luke?
27.
27. So 40 years. Okay, let's not go that far. Let's say 30 years from now, you're 57, right? You got a house full of kids, probably some horses and stuff out there. Are you still shoeing horses at all for money, or are you just taking care of your own? Is it something you'll let go of, do you think?
No, I'm not going to let go of it. I like horseshoeing enough that I'll definitely keep, a small number of clientele or specialize in kind of therapeutic shoeing or something. So I'll probably be shoeing a few horses, for the next 30 years. I probably won't be doing 15 a day. I don't ever want to do 15 a day again. That's just too much.
Well, you've done 15 a day. That's a lot. That's a lot.
But shoeing horses is probably always going to be a part of my professional life.
Is there something you do every time you shoe a horse? Is there a little imperfection you put in, a little initial, a little slide of something that kind of is your signature?
Signature.
I see guys with kind of signature punches. So I don't really have any signature right now. I've always kind of wanted to get, kind of a signature punch with my brand on it. That'd be kind of cool. But outside of that, no, I don't really do anything special. I just kind of shoe the foot the way that it needs shod.
Yeah, dude, I love. I got caught up in watching the actual work, but then the guys that they flip the foot over and then they shine it up and put the nice, I guess it would be varnish or something like that on it, make it look real strong. I mean, dude, it's really cool, man. It's a really cool profession.
Yeah, it's pretty
kind
cool.
of art and science, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's the perfect blend of backbreaking work, artistry, and the application of a little bit of mechanics and science. So,
Dude,
Oh,
I'll tell you
Buck.
this. Speaking of backbreaking work, you guys probably know I've done a little of this. I actually went through training, got it all, so I have done this before. And I will say, when he says shoeing 15 horses, I'm like, that take me all week long, at my best, And so this is not easy work by any stretch. And so, so the question I have for you, Luke, I know it ain't easy now. This ain't easy, and so even like doing 6 in a day, I'm like, God, that is impossible. But how dangerous is it? And have you been hurt?
I have been hurt. Yep. Thankfully, I've never been hurt bad. I've had my foot crunched. I've had my knee tweaked a little bit, kicked and stuff. There's always a level of danger whenever you're doing anything with horses, but especially when you're getting under them. You're contorting yourself and you're taking some weight from the horse, and you're putting yourself in a position where if that horse were to, fire off or jump forward or run backwards and stuff, you could get kicked, stomped, contorted pretty quick, and I just say no to bad horses. Luckily, I came to that conclusion long before I got hurt bad. But I know several people who've gotten, their knees blown out and had other problems and stuff because, they got kicked the wrong way by a horse and, had horses fall on them, jerk them down, send them flying across the pen,
Yeah.
So
When we get through this podcast and I stand up, I'll have to stretch for about 5 minutes before I can go in there to the kitchen and see what my wife's up to. I can imagine. I'm going to do that all day long.
Yeah.
So you
I mean, trust me, the inner me wants to be like, let's do it, But,
And I swear, horseshoeing, you use muscles you don't use for anything else.
I bet.
Yeah. We when we had when I was in horseshoeing school, Suzanne came down and visited me, and the instructor had her pull off a set, 2 shoes, 2 hind shoes, might have been more than one, I don't know. Anyway, but she, and you got that's the hard one, man. And so she finally got that set of shoes off, and it's like the next day couldn't hardly walk because it's for real. It's for real. So that leads me to another question. You need to settle the all-time question for us, and maybe we're talking about people, maybe we're talking about horses. But here's the question: mares or geldings? What's the difference? Ooh. And do you have a favorite? Like personality?
I don't. Well, I guess I don't have a specific favorite. Just flat mares or flat geldings. I will say that all the mares that I've ever been around had a lot more heart. You could take them on a long day and they wouldn't quit you. But I've had some phenomenal geldings. Geldings are more like, by and large, probably the dumb kid at the party, like do what's going on and everything. And the mares, especially. The stereotypical mares, exactly. Are real business focused. If you're not going to do a job, they don't want nothing to do with anything, you know, cranky, etc. But heck, I like them both.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The bad thing, Jeremy was pointing at our guest on my monitor.
On my monitor, he's pointing to himself.
I was pointing down. I figured I'd get the right person eventually.
There you go. You're pointing at Chris with me, so
that's exactly who I was.
You got a 25% shot depending on who's recording on.
So I'd like to see you try to shoe Matt.
Oh, that wouldn't be too hard.
He's seen me.
I want you to put one on him.
There you go. Just mail me one of your shoes. I'll nail a set of steel on there and send it back for you.
There you go.
I like it. Then I lace them up and go. That is awesome.
Get some of them 8th grade Cougar Royales and send them to put some metal around the bottom of them.
There you go.
Cougar Royale? Are you kidding me, dude? That's a good pull.
Remember that, right?
That's a good pull. Oh,
Where we get that?
85.
Where was that? Where you could get the Cougars? I can't remember this.
Probably Bargain Town.
Kmart,
bro.
I think.
Kmart or
Was it
Bargain.
Payless shoes? I don't remember, but yeah, Cougars, man, that was the thing, baby.
That was the one that looked like the Reebok, but they wasn't the Reebok.
Yeah, they were for us. It wasn't for everybody, but they were the thing for us.
Yeah,
so.
the knockoff.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. Hey, so you guys, the last time I saw Luke, he showed me this video, and it was really pretty cool. Have y'all seen the rodeo? Hadn't you? Y'all seen rodeo? Seen guys ride bucking horses?
Oh yeah.
So Luke, if you got a second, tell them what you showed me, and kind of what was going on.
Well, I was in this colt starting competition here a couple years ago, and I was riding this colt. You know, it was her third ride. You know, we were out in the big arena loping around, and just everything was going great. And man, I don't know if she saw a bag, you know, or a fly bit her on the butt or what happened, but she just cut in two and went to bucking. And I was able to stick her right up until my saddle broke and my rope, you know, went a-flying that I was holding on to, and then we all went down in a big heap. But
it was cool. It was cool. And so when someone says, "Hey, stuff got Western," I mean, that's what happened. That's what happened. I thought I was like getting a clip on the RGTV channel or something.
Is that clip on YouTube or anything?
I posted it on TikTok. I got like 100,000 likes on TikTok. I'll send it to you, Matt.
Send me a link and I'll put it at the end of this podcast so people can check it out.
For sure.
It was really cool.
It's a great video because it cuts out right before everything went to heck and we hit the ground. So, you know, just it all looks like I'm the king of the world.
I dig it, dude. I dig it.
Luca, what other? So you and I have talked before, and if let's just say if we get away from horseshoe now, I'll say this right now. I've got a gelding who's 12, 13 years old. He's had terrible feet for as long as I've had him 5 years. And then we met Luke. Luke started shoeing him and doing some special stuff to him. And I've never in my life seen his feet look better. So, I mean, he took a horse that I just didn't really want to ride, didn't really want to use. And I'm like, hey, I think this guy's going to be okay. So it was, I mean, it shows you the difference of a farrier or maybe trim care or some stuff that just wasn't working. And this horse was uncomfortable and his feet looked awful. To the last time he shot, he pulled the shoes off and we looked at him and said, can you believe that's the same foot? I'm like, there's no way. So I think having a guy who knows what he's doing. I'm a guy who can nail a shoe on. I can. But then there's a guy who can nail a shoe on, but he knows what to do. And it's like there's a touch and a feel to it that matters. And so having a guy that knows what he's doing really matters. So good on you.
It's a horseshoe whisperer. Well, hey, dude, I mean, that's what it is sometimes, man. You got those guys that just have that extra thing in their profession, and it's great to see. It's in anything, a mechanic, a horse farrier, a doctor, I mean, just, you know, a detailer, a car detail. Some people just have that extra little thing, man, and that's great.
Yeah, you're
that's
right.
Great.
You're right.
Are you taking on clients now, Luke, or are you?
No, I was trying to look up what those shoes you were that you were talking about.
Oh, the Cougar.
Oh, the Cougar Royales. Hey, listen, man, if you can find those, that would be amazing. I could imagine there's not one picture out there of those things, man.
Cougar Royale.
But you can't. Hey, you can't get the full effect of just looking at a picture of them. You have to feel them.
Oh yeah.
You got to feel that. You got to feel that fake leather.
No, yeah.
The
pleather.
Nothing to it. It's amazing. Yeah, that's what all us broke kids wore. Hey,
Nice.
We wore them like we're supposed to, though, baby.
We sure did.
Sure did that.
Oh, did all that fake stuff. Hey, Luke, what else are you
I
interested
didn't have-
in, man?
Yeah, Jerry?
What you got, Jeremy?
No, I was just gonna say I didn't have a pair of good shoes until we bought the Converse Cons for basketball one year.
I didn't even get those.
Everybody
real
had
bad.
to have them.
I know. Not me. I got something off the clearance rack, but it was still cool. It was cool. So, hey, Luke, what I was getting at is what you and I have talked about. What else are you interested in? What other passions you got?
Oof. I got too many passions, probably.
That's awesome.
Anything outdoors, hunting, bow hunting especially. Love me some bow hunting. Get a good elk or whitetail, and they're just in your face. Ooh, that gets me up in the morning. Backcountry hunting, fishing, anything really outdoors is kind of what gets me going. Especially if I can incorporate the horse aspect into it. So, and then, kind of on the flip side, medicine is just super, super intriguing to me. And I'm kind of developing that passion, whereas I've had the outdoor one since before I could walk. But those are kind of anything outdoors, especially hunting off of horses, agriculture, ranch work, all that, and then the application of medicine, especially in less than ideal circumstances, is what lights my fire.
Yeah.
I need to come on to your little nugget. You got a little nugget, right? Didn't you got a little boy? Is that what you said, little boy?
I do. I got a 1-month-old boy. He turned 1 3 days ago.
Interesting. Congratulations.
Yep.
So is he on a horse in his third year or fourth year?
Oh, shoot. He's already been on one.
Love it.
He done moved to the store for us and got us some sugar.
How much longer do you have in school?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm just going part-time right now, so depending on how fast I go, I probably got 1.5 years left to undergrad, and then wherever life takes me, whether that's full med school or PA school or, heck, maybe I'll become famous off this podcast and not have to go to any schools. There we go.
It could happen.
That's it. Hey, we'll give you a fourth of it.
We hope.
There we go.
We hope you
Sure,
are.
we'll give you half of it. We'll split that. Dude, this has been a great one, man. I love learning things, and you make me want to move to Montana even more.
There you
Start
go.
talking about bow hunting and everything. So
There you go. Heck, come out. We'll take you bow hunting.
yeah, I'll definitely
We'll
come.
toss you on a horse that you shot, and we'll go bow hunting.
There you go.
Nah, you can just get it ready. I'm a big boy too, so make sure it's a big horse.
Could you just cook me a hamburger steak and bring it back and then tell me how the hunt went?
There you go. Yeah.
Sure we can.
That works. It works. So you could
I'm
be
just
you and
kidding.
me. We could be camp cook. We'll just go out. It's like, hey, you boys, go on out. We'll be camp
We'll
cook.
just take our golf clubs and we'll hit balls out in the pasture while
Wait,
they're
I might
out
want to
there.
play golf too. That's not fair.
That's 2 different seasons. 2 different seasons.
2 different
There you go.
seasons. That's fair.
Exactly.
Y'all want to see how much of a cowboy I really am?
Yes.
Oh, obviously. There you go. You got the good stuff right there.
Drinking Fiji water.
Hey, yeehaw.
That's what my baby wants me to drink it, so I drink it.
Well, you gotta hydrate. At our age, we can't stand dehydration at the cellular level very well.
No doubt.
It's no
No
good
doubt.
for us. It's no good for us.
Well, are you taking class now, or you got a good book? You're not looking for any new?
Right now, I'm full. I got a good book. I like everybody I work for, you know, and I got the time managed about to where I am working 6 days a week, every other week. So, you know, I could cut back a little bit, but you know, right
Sure.
now it's working real good for me.
You got so many other things cooking too, brother.
Exactly.
So I got you. Huh?
The last time
That's
I saw this
fantastic.
guy was like 6 p.m. It was like Friday at 5:30. He shows up. I said, "Bro, you're working late on a Friday." He said, "Daddy's got to do what Daddy's got to do." Maybe not those words, but more or less.
Well, that's good.
It is.
Well, guys, you guys got anything else for the man?
No,
Jeremy, you got anything else?
I enjoyed the conversation. I've learned
Good.
stuff, which is good. And I don't learn anything.
Oh yeah, this has been great, fantastic. Definitely enjoyed you being here.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed being on. It was great. Loved the conversation. So,
Yeah, don't forget to send me that link, man. I'll pin it up to the YouTube when I do all the editing for this
I will.
for your night of bucking or were you on a horse?
Yeah, I was on a horse.
Okay, yeah. So I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Heck, man, maybe we might have you on again one day. You never know,
Yeah,
bro.
let's do it.
This one will just be a lot more cutting up, though. This will be, we'll have like a free for all one day, and we'll talk about sports and Taylor Swift and
Oh, good. I can learn
Jeremy's-
something then. All stuff I don't know anything about.
I don't either. Sports. I mean, obviously we know a little sports, but we'll do something. And if it's anything, we'll just hack around them. So
Heck yeah.
And
All right, fellas.
you got to meet 3 great Bama guys here.
Oh, yeah.
So you got some
I am from
connections.
Bama.
That's what I
Bama
meant.
Nation.
Yeah, you do not confuse me with an Alabama fan, you say, right?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I respect them. But yeah, I'm an Auburn guy. So
Not me. I hate Auburn. Period.
that's
There ain't
not
no.
very nice.
Look,
not very nice.
I've never been nice about
We'll get
that.
into next episode, or we'll have an episode of why the hate is out there, and then you can explain why you actually hate Auburn.
Well, when we bring on the preacher and almost choked him out during the football game that time, then that
You
might
mean
help.
the guy that you choked him out? Really?
No, I wanted to, but he's my preacher.
In his
I couldn't
current
do it.
state, or was it
Yeah.
prior to?
Yeah.
It was prior to this but he's always had this disease. So
Why
that's
you
going
gonna
to be a
jump
very.
on somebody with a disease?
You can't
He
choke
brought it
out
on
an
himself.
You can't do that.
Fitted.
You got to do what you got to do, man.
I know. Hey, Luke, I was telling these guys about the and I don't know. I know you go to MSU, but I don't know if you actually care about the football team or not. But I went to one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And I grew up in the South watching this other big football and all. One of the coolest things I've ever seen was at Cat Grizz several years ago. Was in Montana State, and I don't know if it's actually the rodeo team or who does it. But, these guys were getting hyped up for the game. Like at, Tuscaloosa, they play the ACDC, and then the team runs out. So in Montana State, I don't know exactly what the song is. It's pretty cool. But then the team starts coming out. But to lead the team out, I'm going to say rodeo team. I don't know if it is. Rodeo team, all with flags spelling out Bobcats. Top speed around the field. It's just for a horse guy. It's freaking cool. But it's also cool. It's just cool. So one of the cooler things I've seen out this way.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. If I do go to a football game, I watch that and then I leave.
There you go. I've had enough.
I like bow. I never got into football. I like bow hunting too much.
And they
I hear you. I can see where that would get
they can have the same Saturdays.
Yeah. Sundays and Saturdays, I'm in the woods chasing deer and elk. People throwing a ball around just never entered my sphere of influence or anything.
That's why he's the smart one.
Cool.
Right? That is why it's the smart one. It's a good point.
Well, I mean, one could argue with that when I kill an elk 15 miles from the trailhead and I gotta pack out 300 pounds of meat on my back, but you know.
You got to track it. Yep, that's for sure.
That's why the good Lord made horses.
Can we hire somebody to track it?
You can, but
Good. Even better track it. I go about 10 foot. We have to sit down and build a fire and think about it for a minute and go back.
Just go ahead and start eating. Just going to start eating all I can. Let's get it over with.
Can we lay on this? Yeah, I hear you, dog. I hear you. But it sounds so amazing. And my wife is a beach person. I mean, she likes sun and sand, and I don't have a problem with her loving every bit of it. But there's something so manly about being cold in the winter and having to cut your wood and go get your food, and it takes you back. I ain't gonna say old school, but back in the day, we'd do stuff like that. We didn't have to, but we'd go hunting and fishing and build a fire out in the woods and just have a good old time. And
yeah,
that's good stuff. My great uncle lives in Hungry Horse. Is that right, Matt?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hungry Horse.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's inviting us up there. So, yeah.
hey, they got.
It just feels like it would feel right.
Yeah.
Probably after 2 days, I'd be like, let's get back down to the beach. But
they
either
got
way,
Sand and Sun and Hungry Horse Reservoir.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You have Sand and Sun where?
Right there in Hungry Horse on the reservoir.
Oh, right. 6 weeks, right, Matt? Is that what you said?
Give or take.
6 weeks of summer.
Oh, there's not a lot of it. No, it feels
No.
like 6 weeks.
Yeah. Well, all right, fellas. I guess we're wrapping up this episode. What a wonderful episode. Man, I appreciate you coming and talking to us. Hope we didn't make you any dumber this hour.
No,
I feel like
every minute of it. Thank you much.
all right, you guys have a good one. Take care, and
right.
I promise you'll get an invite back, and the next one's going to be a little interesting because we're going to have a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Y'all take care.
All right.
Have a
See
good
you.
one.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
You bet.
I like my women like I like my horses. I'm talking about a good buckskin, blonde-haired gal, one with a big ass and a big chest and pulls a rope like a D9 cat and tough, dirty tough. I mean, go hard all day, rode hard, put away